Hello everyone and welcome to SkateProud chat. Today we're gonna be chatting with Randy Gardner. He is a world figure skating champion, 5 times US champion in pair skating, and 2 times Olympians. So this is very exciting because Randy is gonna give us a very important perspective of figure skating back in the days and how it has evolved and changed throughout the years in the LGBTQ plus community and acceptance. So I'm very excited to have Randy join in from the Go Figure documentary, which is being released, and it's I recommend everybody to keep an eye on it. So I think it's connecting now. Hello, Randy. I see the ceiling. Let's see. Hi, Randy. Okay, I think I have to invite him again. There you are. Let's see if it's connecting again one more time.
Hello?
Now, yes. Hello.
Are we good?
Perfect. How are you?
Good, thank you. How you doing, Javier?
I'm good. I'm good. Welcome to SkateProud. I'm really happy that you're joining us today. I know it's a bit early for you over there where you are, but
Los
how you
Angeles.
feeling?
It's okay. It's 9 o'clock. I get up early. I mean, it's
Okay.
10 o'clock, rather.
I know, but with the quarantine time, we are, delaying a little bit our mornings and
I know.
yeah, so excited. I think most of the people who will be watching knows your career. Um, if, just confirm me if I'm wrong, but what I was saying, you're world figure skating champions, and you did pair skating, correct?
Yes.
And then you're also 5 times US national champions
Yes.
and 2 times Olympians.
Yes. And world champions in 1979.
Perfect. Yeah. So, I mean, I was reading as well, you are in the Hall of Fame of the United States Figure Skating Hall of Fame. And as well, you competed at the gay games as well.
I did not. I didn't. Ty and I both judged the gay games. I think it was the first.
Oh, okay.
Well, I think it might have been, it was an early one. It was, way back in the 90s. And I believe it was one of the early ones, and it was in New York. But we got to judge that. That was really fun. It was amazing what was going on there.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a cool experience. And of course, that was after you finished your competitive career, which you also did transition into the show world, and you did what I was reading as well, a lot of shows around the world, correct?
When we turned pro,
Escapades in the United States.
yeah, we did Icecapades, which was, you may or may not have heard of that anymore, but Icecapades was a big, like Ice Follies, Icecapades, Holiday and Ice. We signed with Icecapades and our first contract was 3 years with Icecapades, and those are big tours. Those were 30 weeks, and we would start in September and go until May. So we did Icecapades at first, and along the way we were doing other things as well, other guest appearances and things. And then we went to shows with Dorothy Hamill, theater tours, and did a couple guest spots in Europe, not Holiday and Ice in Europe, but other European shows. And then we went back to Icecapades for like a limited, I think we did 10 weeks, like in our 4th year, after 4 years after turning pro. So we kept going. And then actually, it's interesting, our professional career was much longer than our amateur career. They couldn't get rid of us. I think they tried, but
well, you were enjoying it for sure.
We were. It was
in a
good.
different way.
and I found that we really developed as skaters, as pros. We kept
Mm-hmm.
changing and evolving and working with different choreographers and doing all kinds of different kind of shows and tours, and we were in a lot of different atmospheres, and some things were television, some things were live, and of course commercials and stuff. But we really had to develop because every gig we did was different and required different artistic endeavors.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to perform with live orchestras a lot, which was fun, and big groups, small groups. So we really developed the skaters once we turned pro.
That's amazing. Yeah, for sure. What
Yes.
great experiences. Yeah. So going back to where everything began, what made you back in the day when you were a kid choose figure skating, which obviously in North America hockey is the main thing for boys.
Yeah. Right. Right. Well,
Not that it's right, but it's the way.
it's true. It's true. I loved watching figure skating when I was a boy, and my parents took me to a lot of ice shows when I was a boy, and it intrigued me. And I liked the glamour of it. I liked the special effects, and I liked kind of everything about going to an ice show. And I started skating. My dad took me to a public skating session at Culver Ice Rink in Culver City, California, when I was 7. And I started in group classes. And then that teacher who was teaching group classes, Mabel Fairbanks was her name, I went to private lessons with her. And then Ty Babylonia, my skating partner for all these years, was taking from her at the same time. And she put us together for a club show. And we were not very good. And it was going to be a one-off. It was going to be for the Ice Rinks Club show. And we did that as I was Dr. Doolittle and she was Mrs. Doolittle, which I don't think there was really a character, but they created one for us. And that was our first time together. And she was doing single skating, I was doing single skating, and we did the pair sort of not real serious for a while. And then we started competing, but we were always like the youngest, scrawniest, weakest little pair team, and we always came in last. And we weren't sure how far that was going to go. And eventually we started growing up and getting a little more mature and started the competition path in pair skating. And to kind of jump ahead, we switched coaches to John Nix. And John Nix is the one that really sort of turned it around. And we won the U.S. National Junior Pair title. And that was really what sort of kicked it off for the amateur career then.
So you were with your figure skating partner for such a long time.
Yeah.
There's also with the shows you were with her.
50 years. We skated actually. We were actually actively skating 40 years together. And the last sort of 10 years, we've been doing stuff off and on. We haven't skated in a while, but yeah, we had a very...
That is amazing.
Yeah, I know.
That's a relationship.
You don't see that anymore. And
no.
We're so fortunate. But it was sort of what we did. And I think we had the same mindset in terms of being together, staying together. There was really no thought of changing partners or jumping around, trying to find a better partner. It just sort of, it wasn't in our psyche. Mm-hmm. So we just kept going. And like I said, the pro career locked it in. That was just going to be it. And
yeah. But I mean, you've achieved very, very big goals for your country, national level, but also international level, world champions. So you've been to 2 Olympics as well?
Yes, 1976 and 1980. Now, 1980 was the one where I had the very sort of well-known injury, and we had won Worlds in 79. And the 80 Olympics were in Lake Placid, New York. And we were coming in as world champions. So it was a huge deal. And plus no other American team had won the Olympics. So it was huge. I got injured. I had a groin pull 10 days before we were to leave. And it was coming along. It was fine. I always say it was skatable. And when we got to Lake Placid, checked in, we were in the Olympic Village, had started training there a couple days, and it was the opening ceremonies. And then that night we had a training session, and I re-injured it. And that was 2 days before the short program. Mm. So it was very, it was too close to really do much. They tried. I mean, they had me on all kinds of stuff, and that was legal. And the last resort was to take a shot of xylocaine, and that's the one we did. We did the warm up at the short program, and that's the shots where I kept falling, and I couldn't control. I lost feeling in my leg. It almost went completely numb. So I couldn't pull in on jumps, and it was really it was devastating. I guess, let alone heartbreaking.
Yeah. It is in a career, there's always ups and downs, and this is something you can't control. Have an injury, and it's a pity. But I mean, there's so many good things you've achieved, of course, and impressive. What I going to this relationship with your skating partner, I'm very interested. Like, how will you say this relationship gave each other support throughout the years, not just in figure skating, but in all your aspects of your life, I guess?
Yeah, well, we grew up together, and we supported one another. And she was so during that time, that Olympic time in 1980, when I had the injury and we had to withdraw, she was feeling it too, and it took a toll on her as well. And the main concern and the question was I going to be able to skate again? And it was doubtful. Didn't know. And we had our commitment with SkateProud coming up, and she stayed supportive. She could have ditched me, but she didn't. And we knew we wanted to skate together again and keep going. So that was sort of a nice little area and era of when our bond together got really strong. Mm-hmm. And from that point forward, we have lived through so much together: marriages, divorces, children, parents passing away, and all these life experiences that we've experienced together has really kept us together, I think, in a lot of ways. And she's the one I was saying the other day to somebody that we don't see each other that much. We talk and we do this, video chats and things. Yeah. But whenever I need a tie fix, I call her, and because she is, what?
She understands you. You guys for these years,
Yeah, and she is one of the funniest people I've ever known, and she can make me. She knows how to make me laugh, and I know how to make her laugh. And so we'll just talk and just do a half hour, 40 minutes, and just crack up. And that's all I would need sometimes,
It is true. It's true, for sure. Yeah. So, that is so beautiful that somehow skating gives you these relationships that stay forever in life. And I think it's very difficult skating with somebody already. But I mean, the way it worked out for you guys is very impressive, and in all the ways, skating and in your personal life as well. Moving forward to a little bit your story and growing up and your relationships with your family, and if you could give us a little bit of perspective how it was, this period when you were young and growing up and maybe realizing that you're gay and that maybe you had to be closeted, let's say, or you didn't come out until later. So it was a different period of different era, and things has changed so much. So how would you put this in perspective in the skating world and back in the day, and how was your?
Well, when I was coming of age with everything in my teens and early 20s, it was the 1970s and going into the 80s. So in those days, you very rarely spoke about your sexuality. And I think I denied it. There was a little bit of family pressure. We weren't a religious family, but my family was conservative. And, you know, queer people were not in our lives that we knew of. So I think that, and I didn't want to be one of them because it felt odd and it felt wrong. And so I was actually okay with myself, but I had to live in the closet. And I did, you know, I did have friends and that knew and sort of shared that experience with me. But in the skating world, and I think in the athletic world, especially in the Olympic world, that was not something that we advertised.
Yeah,
And there was a lot of, there could be a lot of negativity to that, especially when we turned pro in 1980. There were a lot of opportunities that I knew if I came out would go away. At least I thought they would. And
I was reading a little bit about that. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm pretty sure a lot of them would have. And at that point, it was making a living. So you had to fight to make a living. So I stayed in the closet.
Yeah,
And
but there's more than that for sure. That it kept you, you know, you kept it for yourself probably because of many other reasons. In with
I did,
society.
and I think that I think it was almost life. It definitely was career saving, and it was life saving. Not that I was suicidal or anything like that, but it was definitely it was a comfortable place to be for me, and I made it comfortable to be in the closet. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
it was the healthiest thing to do, but it was what I had to do, and it
Mm-hmm.
was you know, it was necessity.
But in
And
your head, will you say that you already knew, or you were fighting yourself about it?
I wasn't fighting myself. I knew who I was. I accepted who I was, but I
Okay,
couldn't really talk about it.
okay. And how is this period like? I read that you went to conversion therapy,
Yeah.
and something related to your family. And so how that happened? Did you came out to them, and that's when you guys thought, or they thought you needed to go to conversion? And like, how is all this part of your life? That I guess it was a very difficult time.
It was hard. Now reparative therapy or conversion therapy was my parents suggested I go, and I did it just really to please them. I knew I wasn't going to change. I knew there was no such thing as conversion or being repaired because I knew there was nothing wrong with me.
Mm-hmm.
But I did it for a summer, and fortunately, it wasn't a religious-based one, which I think would have been real intense. It was more of a psychological-based program. It was private therapy and group therapy, and it was interesting. In the group therapy, there were a lot of men going through the same thing I was in terms of having to be in the closet. Some were married, and it was interesting. And we were kind of, you're told that you can change, or you should change, or you should try to change. And I thought it was a bunch of crap, but I went through it, and I think knowing that it really sort of was not going to work for me, I kept thinking I'm gonna finish this little program, and then I'm out of here, which is exactly what I did. And I told my parents, yeah, everything's okay. I'm going to consider changing and being repaired, whatever that means. And didn't work. I didn't do that.
And yeah, just to put it in a timeline, um, when did that happen? Were you still competing? Did you already, so it happened because you came out to them at some point, or it was
it,
just
it,
like they
it,
recommended?
well, it wasn't a formal coming out. They knew I was gay and I'd had a boyfriend or boyfriends.
Okay.
And it was early in our professional career, early 1980s.
In like professional shows career. Okay, I
Yes,
see.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
read that you had a skating partner. Uh, it was another figure skater as well.
Oh, you mean in terms
In
of
your person, like, yeah, like
yeah,
a
yeah.
boyfriend.
Well, my very first boyfriend was Robin Cousins, and that was in the late 70s. And Robin and I were together for a couple of years, but he was training in Denver. I was in Los Angeles. And the only time we would really see each other was at either exhibitions or competitions, or he'd come out here to train, or Ty and I would go to Denver to train sometimes. And that was long distance, but it was okay. You know, we both had our jobs to do with amateur skating. So, uh, so that was my first one. And then my next one was Ted, who was in the Ice Capades with me, and that was a good one. That lasted 7 years, and that was a more mature, adult, real relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And the reparative therapy happened during that relationship.
Okay,
And I think back, and he and I talk about it now. We've remained really good friends, and he's in my top three of best friends right now. And we talk about it, and we kept saying, "Oh my God, we were so young," and he wouldn't have put up with it now, being more mature. But then it was sort of, and he knew I had to do what I had to do in terms of whether it was public image, pleasing people, staying in the closet. He understood what that was. I don't think he loved it, but
mm-hmm.
he stuck with me. And
So they
now, if we were
supported
more
you
mature,
that
that wouldn't
period.
have happened. I'm sorry, Javier, what was
Who
that?
supported you during that period?
Yeah, support.
I mean,
I don't know if it was support. It was he put up with
difficult
it.
times, yeah.
Yeah, he put up with it.
Yeah. So it is. That's a very difficult, hard story to hear. I've been so lucky with my family always. There's no religion involved, and they're very open-minded. So I struggle like many people at schools and bullying, discrimination, but not to the point that I had to go to something as conversion therapy, and I guess it has changed a lot, the world, and especially in our countries, and it is hard to put that in perspective to understand that that was very common, that used to happen. I mean, it still happens, which is something I would say horrible. These conversion therapies and families kicking out their kids or because they don't accept them, like putting that above the love. And but I will say, yeah, it is kind of like very difficult things that you had to live through in your career and during
Yeah.
your skating career as well, which makes extra pressure.
Well, the world is changing, and the world has changed, of course, for the better. And I do know there are regions in the United States, and I think other places in the world, where it's still sort of old-fashioned, not acceptable, and or I think it's more a religious-based sort of thing now. I do think society and the public knowledge of it and the public awareness of it is better now. But I do think there's some very strong religious overtones, pray the gay away, that stuff. And I think that is so hurtful to the younger queer generation. But I think it's devastating. And there's still, I mean, as we know, reparative therapy is being banned in much of the United States now, if not other parts of the world. But there's still that church that's going to dictate, and it's a very heavy blanket. that's put over people, and I think it's a hard one to get out of. And a lot
Yeah.
of young people don't come through it, and that's the sad part. And
Is
I do when I do speaking engagements, I do it to a lot of LGBTQI youth. And boy, I'm so impressed with the parents and that are at these meetings and or speeches, and they're trans. There's teenage trans, and I just love that. And I actually end up speaking to the parents and thanking them and or kind of finding out where they got that support. What's their thinking? How has their thinking changed? And it's pretty much the general concept and feeling that I love my child. I don't care, as long as they're not doing anything illegal.
exactly.
That's their point of view. Now, there are a lot of cases with the parents. Boy, I've had phone calls with friends, adult friends that have kids, and their kids have come out, and they've been just devastated. And my husband and I, Jay, talked to them, and we sort of talk it through it with them. We talk it through, and some of them have ended up joining, PFLAG, which is a parent organization of gay kids, and they march with them and they do the pride festivals now. And I think they just have to realize your kid is your kid. There's nothing really wrong with them. It's who they are. And they still love you. You still love them. They will have a family. They can do that. And you can have grandkids, which I hear that. I go, I'm not going to have grandkids. And I always say, says who?
Exactly.
Don't worry about that. And let your child decide, and let your adult child decide what they're going to do with their life. It's really not up to you.
That is amazing what you're saying. I think it's very important also to mention, so you are giving a lot of speeches for the LGBTQ plus youth. And as you were mentioning, you get to know a lot of people, a lot of stories, and to share your own story, which I think is very important as an athlete, Olympic competitor, and also world champion, to share your story. And that's why it's important that you're here today for us, this figure skating community, to know you better and to know what you live through, and to appreciate how much everything's been changing, but also how much we have to change and evolve. But I think it's very brave that what you have done in your life, and as well accept yourself, even though all these barriers, I would say, it's extra difficult when you have to go through this. And nowadays, we have more tools, more organizations, more help to reach out. And I think that's a very positive thing, has changed throughout the years, to have platforms as well that we can reach out to people for help. Maybe when you don't have your family supporting you.
Yeah, and there are these tragic stories where the families just leave their kid. Well, I mean, there are situations where the kids get kicked out and they end up on the street.
It is crazy.
Those are the ones that are so heartbreaking and so emotional for me to hear.
It has to be very difficult, and it's a lot of rates of suicide because of that.
Yeah, but I do think that skating or sport for anybody, it helped me because it gave me it taught me how to focus, how to get through, how to survive. And I keep using this word survive. And by that, I mean, get to the other side. It's keeping your eye on your goals, and whatever they are, personal and professional. And skating taught me how to do that. And I think that's what pushed me through this. I think I was lucky because even young kids with goals and a real drive to do something still get caught, and there's a hitch along the way. And that's real tough. And that's what we try to pull them out of, when we're speaking to them and setting an example.
I think that is very important, what you're doing right now. Um, and yeah, skaters like myself, that we have competed in a different period, having you as example and as a role model, I think it helps. And I'm sure all this conversation, it is, very, very important for younger generations, I would say. But
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to say that I'm so happy. I'm so proud of the people like Adam Rippon, Eric Radford, and all the others, and yourself that
mhm.
are that can have this freedom and this opportunity and this sort of life and be in the generation that you have right now. And Eric, who's a good friend of mine, he actually he's a wonderful music composer, and he composed the music in the film. Go figure, documentary.
Oh, that's
And
beautiful. I didn't know.
yeah, he's the music composer in there. And I was happy. I asked him if he wanted to do it. I reached out to he's the only I think really the only one and only person I asked to do it because I think he's a really really nice solid man, but he's also very talented. And he once said in an interview, I think it's in the film even, that people like Randy, we can stand on the shoulders of people like Randy. They paved the way for our generation. And I just love that. You don't know you're doing that, but when someone says that of that stature in the figure skating world, and I just really, I find that very, very special and touching, and I'm very glad. So, but yeah, so that's,
Yeah, you
yeah.
probably don't realize how important is just the fact that you share your story, and even now today you're giving these speeches because it helps. It helps a lot
Oh yeah,
to all
they
the
have.
skaters.
I think kids and parents have to hear stories,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
they have to see examples, and I think you know that's why I
Yeah,
do it.
yeah. And skating back in the day, you lived through just coming out, the conversion therapy period, but also it was a difficult time as well with all the AIDS crisis and all
Mm.
these. It's just like you live through such different difficult periods that right now we can't even imagine. But you lost a lot of friends, and
Yeah.
you had this like worry and pressure, and it's just how even in that aspect as well is we
Well,
are living in
Javier,
a
I will
different
tell you,
era.
the AIDS crisis was my generation, and I was in my 20s, and there were some. I, I stopped making. Ty and I would keep a list of people of our friends that were passing, and we had to stop. It got to 60, and then we had to stop. You know, Brian Pokar, who was a Canadian men's champion in
Brian, yeah,
Brian Pokar. Before Brian Orser, it was
yeah.
late 70s into 80s. And he
Mm-hmm.
was one of my best friends. And I had to go to Calgary and be a pallbearer along with, Taller Cranston and some other folks that we knew. And we had to live through that. And the AIDS crisis, it was a very, very hard time because at first they didn't know what it was. It's just like COVID right now. Didn't know what it was, didn't know kind of where it came from. And then you do find out how it all starts. But then it had this stigma that if you were a gay person, oh my God, I'm going to catch AIDS from this person. Well, we knew that didn't end up quite that simple. It wasn't scientifically, it was not like that at all. But we had to live through not only just being gay, but also we had AIDS in our community. So that was like a double whammy. So we had to sort of fight through that, and but there were, and I don't think um, your generation has had to go through anything like that yet, and you don't know what that feels like. But and I'm just saying I'm kind of glad that my generation, went through that for you guys and gals, because now we sort of have paved the way for a much easier easier path for you guys. And, you know, we fought and fought and fought, and we lost a lot of people along the way. But,
I can't
you
even
know,
imagine. Yeah.
yeah. And so, you know, I'm lucky I'm still around, because I was not the best little kid on the block during those times. I had to become
There
that.
was no information as well. Like it's, we have information, we have tools right now to prevent this. Is a whole different world. And yeah, I can't even imagine all this pressure about your skating career. It is difficult. It's
Yeah, it was all that, and plus the skating career.
yeah.
Exactly. There was a lot going on.
And that made it even harder to come out, I would say,
Oh
because
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I uh, During the AIDS crisis, I was out, not pub. I didn't, you know, I didn't come out publicly until about 12 years ago in a People magazine article, and it was, you know, it was not that big a deal in terms of, you know, being like a big news, you know, a big news flash. It wasn't like breaking news on the evening news, but it was official. And I think that same like with Ryan Boitano and Guillaume Cesseron, these are people that you sort of have to do it. Like Guillaume said, I read a quote. He said, "This isn't a big deal. Straights don't have to come out." And I had to laugh because it was very funny. I thought that was very funny, and it's very true. But for some people to come out publicly and officially, whether it's in the press or you know, television or printed press, it's a big deal because you put a stamp on it, and other people know for sure, and it becomes official. And I think it gives you more credentials in the world to help other people.
for sure it is. I think what you live through and your story is sharing. It's giving us perspective and empowers us as a community. I think it helps support us and as well give us strength. And I truly appreciate what you've lived through and what you've done, because it is true. We are living comfortable, let's say, right now because of what you guys done and even up to today and fought for as well. So going into that period, you were in the show world already when that happened, and then so what was do you think that the show world help you to, you know, as well I was reading, to be comfortable with yourself and truly accept and come out to your closest circles and, you know, be comfortable around everyone around you?
Well, interesting, Javier, because as we know, we have to create our own family sometimes, and it might not be your mom and dad, but you have to create your own family. In Ice Capades, it was about 40 people, and that was my family. We were touring together, living together. That was my world, and there were a lot of gay people in the show, touring, and that was my community, and that was my under the big top sort of insular world. And that was a world that I felt good in because I was accepted, didn't have to hide anything, didn't have to worry about anything. And there were people like me. And that's what, and I had to create a family through that community. And it taught me how to do that. You know, because you have to have family, whether you choose them or not, or whether they're your blood or not. You can choose. We had to learn how to choose a family then, and because you need support and you need love.
I think it's true, and it is so great that you were able to be surrounded by other figure skaters, and you were able to be yourself.
Yeah.
and it helped you probably in your life, and it changed and it made the person who you are today.
It
That
got me through. It got me through. And it taught me about love and acceptance. And I give back because of that. I give back because I know how that felt to receive that love and acceptance and
hmm
family. So now I give it back whenever I can or
that's
whatever, or,
amazing.
you know, you
Yeah,
have to.
yeah, of course. I feel the same way in a different level, but I feel right now as an older competitor and living what I've lived, I think I can help younger generations, and that's why all this community it's important, and all these stories that we're collecting in this platform, and everybody can come and
Right,
watch. I think it's cool, and it's that people see that we as figure skaters, whether you're part of the community or you're an ally, a friend,
right.
you can contribute as well. I wanted to ask you about the documentary,
Yes.
and tell us about it. Is it released? It's gonna be released soon. Like, it, and how did it happen? Like,
Well, it's a documentary film about my life, but it was inspired by I did a one person show, a play, and I started that about 5 years ago, and it toured a little bit, and I'd like to go back out and do it, but it was sort of it was inspired by that, and I wanted to put this thing on film, my story, and make a documentary out of it, and it started. The director Sheridan Sotelo uh, was a friend of mine, and she was an award-winning editor, and she did shows like Breaking Bad, and she was based in L.A. And I talked to her about it. I just wanted to do a little demo sizzle reel from the play. And that
mhm.
developed into like a short film, aspirations of doing a short film. Then we said, let's just go ahead and see if we can just do a documentary out of this. And so it's got scenes from the play in it, but there's very little of the play in it because the turning point was she took my scrapbooks. I had 50 scrapbooks, and she flipped through them. And a lot of the chaptering in the movie is based on scrapbooks, which is kind of an interesting, a really brilliant twist. And that's what enabled her, I think, to actually finish the film. She got a hold of my scrapbooks, and so and I wanted to tell my story in that medium because I've written a blog, I have memoirs, and I did the play, and I thought, well, let me go to film. And I want it because I think film is so rich, and it's
Yeah.
so telling and so deep, and so it's very personal. Like I thought theater was personal, but film, wow, you can it's like it's in your face.
hmm
And so I'm very happy that we did it. It's in a film festival called Outshine in Miami, which the live film festival was to be in April because of COVID. They postponed, and they're deciding whether it's going to be online or maybe do something, maybe do the physical festival in October.
hmm
But Outshine Miami is the film festival that we're in thus far. So we're looking at others, but we're on the market for distribution, which is both broadcast and movie theaters. So we're out there, and we're talking to a bunch of people about getting it on the air. So
That's amazing.
or at a movie theater near you.
Yeah, that would be
Check your local listings at
that
some
would be
point soon.
amazing. I hope we can get it also in some other platforms. I don't know, Netflix, something we can
You
all
will.
watch it all over the world. Yeah,
We'll get it. We'll get it out there.
yeah, that's great. Yeah. Well, I think we've got a very good overview of your life, your story, and it was very, very interesting chatting with you. I've learned so much, and I'm very proud that you are here today and that you share so much with us. Super interesting. So I really want to say thank you, big thank you for being here today. If you want to say something to the people who is watching before we wrap it up, go ahead.
Well, just the only thing is that Javier, the thing you're doing, SkateProud and things like that, is so important. They're so important, and you are that generation that's kicking it forward. And look how easy it is to do. You can go online and you can interview gay people. Who would have thunk? I never would have thought this would have happened. You know, this sort of
Right.
this era that we're in. So I thank you guys for that. And you know, there's a wonderful, colorful community out there, and it's a very creative, strong, important community. And I'm so proud of that community, and it really intersects with all walks of life as well. So I'm very happy that you've provided this platform and this forum for us to keep it going. So
I'm
I
so
love
happy you were
everybody.
here today. And it's very nice meeting you, even though it's FaceTime. I hope I can meet you in person one day. And thank you. Big
Likewise.
thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
And good luck with the documentary releasing it. We'll keep in touch. We'll take a look at it. Yeah.
I love that. Okay.
Okay. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.